Alright, so this video has been a while in the making. There's been some holidays, I've been sick, but now we're here a little bit late to the party maybe, but I think a lot of you is gonna get a whole lot of benefit out of watching this video. I might have given this video some clickbaity titles such as "this one thing will revolutionize how you prep for your Dungeons & Dragons game," and that is actually, in my opinion, at least not too much of an embellishment. So without further ado, let me just take you through what I'm going to show you today, and it is, of course, the amazing powers of AI intelligence when it comes to DMing games. In this case, I'll use a real-life example. I'm a bit late to prepping our weekly D&D game. The characters are right now heading out of town. They're going to a sort of dungeon location that I haven't quite finished preparing yet, and they're traveling across a desolate expanse of open steppe area, you could say. It's a Forgotten Realms campaign down by Thay and Thesk, if that means anything to you. The point is, we have the characters traveling across land to get to a destination that I don't quite know what's gonna entail. So the tool I have open here is the OpenAI, and simply I'm gonna start by putting in prompts, telling it what I need from it, and it'll give me back something. So the first question we're going to ask is, can you give me 5 encounters that a party of adventurers could run into while traveling across a cold, desolate steppe in a fantasy world? And let's see what the AI can come up with. Already we can see the power of the OpenAI as it gives us 5 different encounters, and I think they are quite different. We have a pack of wolves, that's not too interesting. We have some nomadic barbarians, that's also a classic. We have some ice trolls, that's interesting as well. And then we have a long abandoned fortress guarded by magical walls and fearsome monsters. Now that's a whole different can of worms. And then we have also a snowstorm that leads to a mad hermit that may be a danger in and of itself. And now we're asking the OpenAI to elaborate on one of the encounters so we can get a bit more detail in here. And this actually plays really into the campaign, because in the campaign that I'm running, there is actually a sort of very aggressive tribe of barbarians on these steppes, the Lodge of the Linorm. And in this case, we have another tribe that's being attacked by that tribe. So they may still be fierce warriors, very independent, proud, maybe sometimes even aggressive against the settled societies. But in this situation, they have just been under attack by that other tribe. I love this idea. It wasn't an idea that I actually had myself, that I'm going to face the casualties, if you could say so, of this very dangerous tribe that they're actively enemies with, but this is a great opportunity for us because it just makes sense. So I'm going to use this encounter to give the party some information about what's going on with these attacks and get another perspective on what's happening, but I still want to get a name and sort of a description for the leader and perhaps one or more of the barbarians in the tribe. And you can see here we're doing something subtle where I'm asking for a name for the leader and I'm also asking for a description of her. So OpenAI should realize that I want the leader of that barbarian tribe to be a woman. Alright, so already OpenAI has given me a great idea for an encounter. The characters are going to run into a friendly or friendly-ish tribe of barbarians that are rapidly on the move, fleeing from this other aggressive tribe. They may be initially hostile towards the characters, but that's mostly because they are fearful. Gina, the brave, the leader, is gonna be proudful, but she's gonna, if the characters can succeed on some persuasion checks, stuff like that, they will talk with the party. They will give them information, and if the party in return will give the barbarians some food and perhaps help them fend off some wolves, it could be something just to spice the encounter up a little bit, well then they're gonna get some new friends, they're gonna get some information, and they may even get some treasure in return. All of this would have maybe taken me 10 minutes to come up with on my own, but with OpenAI it takes me 2 minutes and I have something written up, and we can even do better than that because, and this is one of the best parts, I think, because now we're asking OpenAI to summarize what they've just said, so I can use this as my notes directly in the game. I can just copy paste what it writes, hopefully, into my own campaign notes, and that is just such an easy way to prepare for your D&D game, at least in my opinion. I think it's a bit long what it's written, so I'm going to try to see if we can cut that down a bit. I'm asking OpenAI to really summarize this stuff. Now, this is something that I can really use. I have all the descriptions. If I need them, I can plug them in to my campaign notes as well. But what I want at the table are these 4 bullet points right here. The party comes across a tribe of nomadic barbarians. Here's what's going on. And here's how the characters can maybe help them. And here is the leader, Gina the Brave. That's it. This is great stuff. I'm going to copy that into my campaign notes, and already I have one encounter. Let's move on and see if we can make another encounter out of the stuff that we got earlier. So looking at this, there was the snowstorm. It's a bit early in the year in my campaign for snowstorms. We haven't had a whole lot of snow, but I think maybe I want to do the snowstorm, but I don't want to do the hermit. I really want the characters to get to that destination in the next session because it's been a while going on. So I just want something a bit shorter maybe. I think the ice trolls and the snowstorm could be written together. And now we're just asking it to write the encounter with snow trolls together with the encounter with the snowstorm. All right, so it kind of did it. It also still wrote the desolate cabin into the encounter, and I think that's actually pretty fun because we got here is first an encounter where a snowstorm appears, and then the characters have to sort of find their way out of the snowstorm. There could be some exhaustion or some cold damage the longer it takes them with some survival checks to get out of that snowstorm. Then they find perhaps an abandoned farm place, something because we have these barbarians roaming around, so maybe the people there have been slain or fled, and the characters can find shelter there. But they are not the only ones looking for shelter, or maybe just a pair of ice trolls that have caught their scent. And now we have an encounter where a pair of trolls are trying to come inside a cabin where the characters are hiding, and that's a really fun premise because we have one troll trying to knock down the door here, another over here, and the characters can use fire and stuff like that to sort of defend themselves from the ice trolls. I really love this encounter. Once again, I'm gonna try and get OpenAI to just sort of condense it down for me. And you can see that even though I make a spelling mistake, OpenAI can luckily still understand what I'm trying to ask it. Once again, we have two encounters here. You may say these are not the most impressive encounters that I've ever seen. No, they're not, but they're fast, and OpenAI does most of the thinking for me. I get the creative ideas, I ask it something, it gives me some inspiration back, I use that inspiration to build upon it, and then we get these notes easy to copy into our own notes, and it sort of opens up your ability to prepare your game, I feel at least, because sometimes you're simply not inspired. I have a lot of great ideas for the plot, I have a great idea for this or that encounter, or for what's going to happen here, but sometimes you just need an encounter to fill out a journey, or you need and this is the next thing we're going to show you, you need a town, and it's not maybe a town you've ever thought about before, but you know the character's going to need to make their way to a town next session, and you have to sit down and dream up all that up, and that is where OpenAI really comes in handy. So let's see what we can do with that, because I want the characters to be able to come by a town on the way to their destination. So now we're asking OpenAI to simply generate a village for us, give it a name, give it a description, give it some important locations and some important NPCs. And here we have Frostfall. And here you have it, a village in its entirety that we can just plug directly into a game. Frostfall is a pretty classic thing. We have a small isolated village with hardy folk and a great hall, a hunter's lodge, and then we have this mayor, chieftain sort of character, and then we have a more spiritual sort of character. There's nothing too creative here, there's nothing revolutionizing, but there is just names, locations, NPCs, all this stuff ready to plug and play into your game. So if you have the characters traveling and you say, hey, you can see a village over here, they may not go into it, they may just pass by, they may go into it to get some information, but now you don't have to spend half an hour coming up with a village that the characters may not even visit. I can just copy paste this stuff into my campaign notes, and if the characters do decide to get to the village, well, I have something to tell them. And this is just, for me at least, awesome. And here comes the final thing, the actual destination. The cave that I want the characters to go into is a crypt, basically. And let's see what OpenAI can do with that. All I know is that I want it to be a crypt because there's been some tomb robbery in the area and the characters are going there to sort of investigate that. And I also want it to be something that is snow or cold or frost related because that's sort of the theme of the session, so to speak. So here we go. We are asking a very complicated question to the OpenAI chat, and we're going to see what it comes up with. Once again, I think OpenAI does just an amazing job. We have the crypt, the tomb of the frozen heart. It's hidden back. We have a little backstory for it. It's an ancient tomb dating back to a time when the region was ruled by a powerful queen who was said to have a heart of ice. and the queen's remains are interred within the crypt along with a treasure of great value. It's a magical place filled with ancient secrets and powerful enchantments, and we have 5 rooms in the crypt. We're going to have to make the map ourselves. We're going to have to set things up, and I just set an arbitrary number of rooms. I can put in extra rooms. I can take some of these out. These are just to get me the initial ideas for designing this. So we have an entryway where the characters are attacked by stone statues that are immune to physical attacks, and the party must use their wits to figure out how to stable them. Now, this is not a new or original idea by any stretch of the imagination, but it sort of gives me some ideas. I like the idea that maybe we have some statues that the characters can't just attack. They can't just defeat them with damage. Maybe they have to do something during a combat or while the golems are attacking to sort of disable the golems instead of just simply attacking them. I like that approach. It's not something that I would have necessarily come up with on my own, the whole idea that they are not gonna be able to take damage at all. Then we have a hall of ice, a winding corridor filled with slippery ice and treacherous pitfalls. I like that, constantly shifting. They must navigate their way through the hazards or risk falling into a pit of frozen spikes. We have basically a room with some ice and some traps and maybe icicles falling down, and the floor is slippery, and if you slip you make noise and the icicles fall down, and there's some crevasses the characters can fall into and get. I like it. It's just a sort of dangerous passage that the characters will have to walk through. Then a chamber of illusion. I don't know if it necessarily fits the vibe that I'm going for here, and it's not that thought out really, so I might skip that one, but it's good to have the idea there. Maybe we can do something with illusions. Then we have a frozen garden, a deadly chamber filled with frozen plants and sculptures and guarded by ice elementals. Once again, is this very original? Not at all, but it is just a fun idea that we can go with or that we can discard and do something else with. And then there's the final chamber of the crypt, and it is here where the remains of the queen are interred. The tomb is guarded by a powerful ice golem. Now, this I don't like. I don't like ice golems. I like the description. Queen Galadriel is maybe not the best name, so we can ask it for a different name. And then we have this magical sword that says to have the power to control the elements. So we're going to ask some follow-up questions quickly here. And let's see, we're asking it a bunch of questions at the same time. We're just going to see what it tells us here. And first, we're going to get 5 alternatives for names. I like these. I can go with Neriaya, Arina. I think those are good names, better than Galadriel, for my purposes at least. Then we have this Ice Beholder, and it gives us a sort of description of that. Not the most elaborate description. And then we have this magical sword. We could get it to make a stat block for the Ice Beholder, but I've tried that. It doesn't come up with the greatest stat blocks yet. If it was deliberately trained on stat blocks, I think it would come up with some really awesome stuff. Right now it's quite rudimentary. The Ice Beholder thing is something that I've actually already have it done before. So we published an Ice Beholder, and I'll leave a link to a free copy of that down below, which was not created by the AI, but inspired by the AI, where I go in and ask it which abilities could an Ice Beholder have. It comes up with some ideas. Some of them are the most obvious ideas you could ever have. It's going to freeze its enemies. But it also comes up with ideas that maybe you wouldn't have thought about. Maybe it just clicks for you and say, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Or the whole thing here is that the process of preparing for a DM's game becomes that much easier when you have this tool to rely on. It's not so much that it's going to do the thinking for you, it's just that it's going to coalesce your thoughts. It's going to provide inspiration, and it's going to very quickly come up with these standard filler stuff, names for NPCs, names for locations, descriptions of locations, all that kind of stuff that is going to take you time to sit and write. You can get this to write prompts, so you can say, describe for me a room in this dungeon. It's going to write a single paragraph that you can read to your players. Describe for me how this NPC looks. It's going to write for you a paragraph that you can read to your players. It's just going to save you so much time. I can't tell you how much I think this has already improved my preparation. Not improved in the way that my preparation is suddenly better, but I can get more done in less time, and that means that, well, it does get better, because normally I'm always behind on my preparation. I'll just be honest and say that I'm not that good at preparing too much in advance, and when I'm behind, it can get rushed, and I'm good at improvising. I don't think the players notice most of the times, but I do think that my games are better when I have a more solid prep, and with this tool I can get solid prep in 10 to 15 minutes. I can have a whole session planned out, and then I can use another 10, 15, maybe half an hour plotting in details, getting stat blocks ready, getting stats for magical items and stuff like that. And then I have a very, very quick preparation instead of spending an hour coming up with the ideas and then another hour fleshing them out, we can use OpenAI every step of the way to sort of improve and make our preparation easier and faster. So before you go, I want to give a huge shout out to our patrons over at patreon.com/Eventyr. We are dialing down on publication of encounters on the Patreon, unfortunately, for the time being, because we have Heretic's Guide to Devotion and Divinity coming out, our latest Kickstarter, but we are still very much appreciative of the community over there. We're still going to be putting out some stuff, and if you want to support the channel and what we do here, you should really head over to patreon.com/Eventyr and check it out. The idea for this video was actually, in part at least, inspired by one of our patrons over there who asked if we couldn't do a video on it, and I really wanted to do that video a month ago, but unfortunately stuff happens and we got busy and the holidays. But here the video is, and I hope it's very useful to you. I hope you can get as much use out of this tool as I have. Beyond that, there's not a whole lot left to say, except thank you so much for watching, and I hope that I'll see you in the next video.